Today we're going to go ahead and solve and graph inequalities. Copy the question down if you have not done so already. In many ways, this is just like equations. So you start by drawing a balance line. This is to keep organized with your work. So in this case, we make sure to put our balance line directly through our inequality. All right, after we finish that, you look for the following. You look for parentheses, and if you see them, you distribute. Or you look for fractions. If you fractions, you got to multiply by the common denominator to get rid of them. In this case, there are neither of them, so we can move on. After that, you look to combine like terms. If you have like terms on the same side, you just combine them. But if they're on different sides, you have to move them by adding or subtracting. So in this case, on the left-hand side, we have 10 and negative 4x. They are different, so you can't combine them. Over here, we have 3x and negative 4. They're also different, so we can't combine them. So we're forced to move them to the same sides. So I want to move my x's with my x's. So the opposite of positive 3x is negative 3x. So you move it over there. The x's cancel out. So we're left with 10, and then negative 4 and negative 3 make negative 7x is less than or equal to negative 4. All right, now we look, well, we have to move the 10 because that's a constant. We've got to move that with the negative 4. So the opposite of 10 is negative 10. Do that to both sides. Those cancel out. We're left with negative 7x is less than or equal to negative 14. Now, the final step is to where you're actually solving for the variable by multiplying or dividing by the coefficient. Now remember, with inequalities, there's one super big difference, which is if you ever multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the arrow. All right. So here we are. We moved the terms, and now we're solving. So in between the negative 7 and x goes a multiplication. So the opposite of times negative 7 is divide by negative 7. All right. Now, because we divided by a negative, remember, if you divide by a negative, you flip the arrow. So we always have to flip our arrow if we ever did that. So here, on our next line, those cancel out. That gives you x. But instead of put less than or equal to, you change that to greater than or equal to. Negative divided by negative is a positive, so that's positive 2. And the reason we flip the arrow, it deals with the number line, which I'll explain at a later time. So now we're going to go ahead and graph our answer. Remember, you shade the number line values that work, but leave unshaded values that do not work. So in this case, here we got our answer, which was x is greater than or equal to 2. Again, that line means or equal to. So the first thing you do is plot the number in the problem, which is 2. Okay, and you put a circle there. Does 2 work? You ask yourself the question, well, 2x can equal 2, so you shade in 2. All right, now the next thing is it says x is greater than 2, so we've got to pick numbers bigger than 2. Well, left of 2 would be like 1, right of 2 would be 3. Numbers that are bigger than 2 would be this way, so you shade everything that way. This means x is equal to 2 or any number bigger than that. All right?